Hey, it's Izzy time with Mr. B, and today we're talking to a talented journalist who's right in the middle of the swamp. Mark Halperin is a journalist, an author. He's the chief political analyst at MSNBC. He also had his show on Bloomberg, and he loves covering politics. Man, I am a big fan of yours. Welcome to Palm Beach Atlantic University.
Very nice. Thank you. Great to be here.
You just missed Donald Trump on Sunday, and he's coming back this weekend, so you might as well stick around to cover Trump now.
This is now the place to be. Palm Beach has always had a pretty good sense of its place in the world, and a lot of people like it here, and now it's, at least on some weekends, going to be the center of the universe.
The winter White House.
Yeah.
Let me see if I get this straight, okay? We've had confirmation hearings, which, okay, every new president has confirmation hearing fights. We've had immigration ban. The Ninth Circuit Court struck it down. We've had a national security chief fired. And this is only 28 days into this administration. What is going on?
I think three things are causing all this activity. One is he promised to be different. He promised he would change a lot of stuff, and he's trying to do it in a hurry. Two is he is a guy who has chaos around him, always has. And you're seeing the product of his personal style. And lastly, you know, it's very hard to get legislation through quickly. And Donald Trump wants to give people a sense that things are happening. So he's trying to create a lot of stuff without doing, right now, the very heavy lifting of passing bills into law, which takes months.
And you've got two things going, because on the one hand, whether you read the New York Times, the Washington Post, or the Palm Beach Post, it almost seems like every day there's a breaking news alert, and it involves Donald Trump, and something is going on, right? He's got a fight with the media.
Yeah, at least one a day.
One a day. Or he's holding national security meetings at Mar-a-Lago, and somebody posts on Facebook. It's things that even you, who you've been covering presidential politics for decades, this is new to us.
There's never been anything quite like this. I covered the beginning of the Clinton administration, and Bill Clinton's administration had a lot of chaos around it too. I think the era of social media, not just the president's use of it, but everybody's use of it, magnifies the chaos. But make no mistake, this is the style of Donald Trump. Anyone who thinks it's ever going to be any different needs to go check history. This is what he's like. This is what it's going to be like. I think the country's going to be exhausted. Comes the late spring, the intensity level is just too much, and I think people will scale back their level of interest. The media will scale back their level of interest, assuming there are no cataclysmic events that really need to be covered at this level of intensity.
Speaking about cataclysmic, I mean, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, he's meeting with his counterpart on the Russian side, and yet it's all about Russia. It's what Donald Trump did during the campaign, what he continues to do, and even people are throwing words like impeachment right on the left-hand side, and yet we're still a nation 50-50 divided. For those who are pro-Trump, he can do no wrong. For those who don't like Trump, he's doing everything wrong.
It's a challenge for anyone now to govern this country because of the divide. He is proving to be as divisive a figure, maybe more so in some ways, as his three predecessors. All three of his predecessors served 2 terms. All 3 of them, Clinton, Bush, Obama, said, I'm going to unite the country. I'm going to bring people together. Donald Trump said the same thing. He's starting off with a much taller task, a tougher task, because those guys, when they took office, there was some unity. It dissipated pretty quickly. With Trump, he enters already a very divisive figure. So it's going to be a challenge both within Washington, where Democrats are now opposing him on almost everything, and in the country at large to say, I'm not just going to be the president of the 40% of people who voted for me. I'm going to try to be president of everybody. It's going to be very tough for him.
And then you've got what matters on Capitol Hill, and that is legislation. You know, you talked to Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, for a long time. He's been wanting to do tax reform. You're talking about either reforming or repealing or doing both Obamacare. Then you've got entitlement care. But it seems like things are going to slow down on Capitol Hill because of what's happening down the street at the White House.
Well, I'd add to your list infrastructure, another big thing. Those are the big legislative agenda for Donald Trump. Infrastructure, dealing with the Affordable Care Act, and tax reform. Again, the process takes time. You can't just pass a bill like that, even though Republicans control both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue. I think the challenge for the president is all of those things are very heavy lifts. None of those are low-hanging fruit. What happens if he goes to his first year and nothing passes? That is not very Trumpian, and it threatens his presidency, because you can only pass very big things in your first year plus. After that, everything gets a lot harder. So what is he going to choose? Is he to do first health care, tax reform, infrastructure? It's still not clear. And he's got to choose one. And then once he chooses it, he's got to pass it. And it's not going to be easy. And as I said, if he fails on his first major legislative initiative, things get very tough from there.
I hate to put you on the spot, but I think it was the Washington Post, or I think Michael Gerson wrote that there was a meeting before he took office, and there was a gathering of all the big chiefs. Reince Priebus, Chief of Staff, Steve Bannon, his political analyst, Kellyanne Conway. They're meeting with Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan says, who's in charge? There was silence. Who do you think is next on the line of this is not working, we got to change
Well, I
course?
think the pressure's on Reince Priebus, the White House Chief of Staff. He is not. He accepted a situation where Steve Bannon does not report to him. In modern history, that's never been the case. In modern history, everyone reports the Chief of Staff up to the President. And so I think Reince Priebus is under a lot of pressure, and people around Donald Trump have said that, some publicly, that Reince Priebus may not be up to the task of handling all those different power sectors within the White House. So make no mistake, he's the one most talked about, but you hear it about almost everybody. I think the only person who's probably safe is Jared Kushner because he's his son-in-law. He's probably safe. Can't fire your son-in-law, but I think everybody else is spending too much of their time having to look over their shoulders, worried about, am I next or am I being undercut?
Yeah, it seems the more popular you are on Saturday Night Live, the more you're likely to be gone from the White House. Finally, let me put you back into the classroom, bring you back to Palm Beach Atlantic University for journalist students, for students who are thinking of getting into this business. They're coming into a time when people don't like us. On the left, on the right, fake news, biased news.
Yeah.
What's your best advice you give students when they say, hey, I want to do what you're doing?
Well, from the point of view of the reputation of the media, no matter how much the distribution changes, whether it's news media, Facebook, whatever it is, old-fashioned journalistic values still matter. You've got to call people. You've got to do the reporting. You can't just assume things to be true, and you have to have integrity. On the skill side, it's still the case. Writing matters. Understanding how to treat people with respect and dignity matter. If you do the fundamentals of journalism, you can be, what I like to say, platform agnostic. You can succeed in print, new media, old media, whatever it is. But you have to look at what are the fundamentals of great journalism and practice those even in this very different age. That's the only way we're going to build our reputation back. It's the only way I think to have a satisfying career in journalism.
Thank you so much. Thank you for visiting us
Great
here
to
on
be
Palm
here.
Beach Atlantic University. Now that Trump is here, I think we may see you again over the next 4 years. Of course, he's also going to be speaking tonight at the chapel to a broader audience. We'll be covering that event. Again, Mark Halperin. Watch him, MSNBC, every morning on Morning Joe. And then, of course, we'll see you again next time right here on The Beacon Today.